Hey everyone, Ryan here at Plague Scythe Studios, and it's been a while. It's been a while since we made some AX8 content. Too long, in my opinion. Apologies for that. I've actually had another video planned in this series for a couple months now. It keeps getting pushed back because it's dependent on another content piece that I'm still working on, and life gets in the way, and it all has to do with my original music that I keep pushing back because I'm a perfectionist asshole. So apologies for that. We'll get to it eventually. But today's video is yet another idea that would probably have been really nice to get out there a year ago or longer, but I didn't have this idea until a couple days ago. I'm not sure why. This seems so obvious now. So to get in the gist of it, basically what we're going to be doing today is creating some new AX8 cabs from scratch. But of course there's a catch. So if you're an AX8 user only like I am, we're actually going to have to rely on our AX8 brothers and sisters to be able to implement the sort of sounds we're getting today. And this video is made possible by one such AX8 user, Quinn McDonald. Huge thanks to you, sir. Very much appreciate it. Got some really cool sounds out of this one, and I hope this video does, prompt some other AX8 users to make some exports and do exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. And hopefully, we'll get some crowdsourcing going and some more ideas and whatnot. So that's kind of why it says calling all AX8 users, because the more the merrier. More is always more when it comes to tones and cab IRs, in my opinion. And basically what we're going to do is turn the settings of a tone match block into a 6 file that is readable by both the AX8 and AX8 in the cabinet block. And if you're unfamiliar with the tone match block, it's kind of what it sounds like. You put it basically last in the signal chain of something, and you send, say, a sine wave through that contains all of the audible frequency spectrum, and it'll sweep up and down, and you'll get these types of sounds. And it'll go through, say, a mic'd up cabinet, or it'll go through an isolated guitar track and compare it to whatever raw amp sound you have, and then it'll spit out a tone match. And that tone match is basically a proprietary impulse response that you just created. So that's why in a lot of these AX8 patches that I have linked below and that we'll be working with today, you will see there's no cab block. So for instance, on the Rush Limelight preset we'll be taking a look at, it's all of, kind of Alex Lifeson's type of signal chain, except there's no cabinet. Instead, it's a tone match. Now, there's this handy program called Fractal that you've probably seen me use a number of times in this video series, that you can convert AX8 and XL Plus presets into patches that the AX8 can read. The problem is if they're using a tone match block, which a lot of the really cool AX8 presets are, then that gets truncated, it goes away. And when you have no other cab IR sound, which is kind of the whole point of the tone match, then you get a raw amp sound in your preset, and it's completely unusable and it's incomplete. But it's not the end of the world. With a little bit of finagling, a little bit of help from the AX8 users, we can convert it from a tone match block into a cab block. So I have a tutorial linked down below in the description that tells AX8 users exactly how to export the tone match block into a cab 6 file. I don't have the hardware, so I can't walk you through it personally, but you can do it both in AX8 as well as on the hardware itself. And basically you just export it. And if you're creating your own, personal preset, say you've done a tone match of your mic'd up cabinet, or say, you just downloaded one of the ones that I'm interested in, and the conversions that we've performed here, you can do it either way. This method will, of course, work on the presets we'll be looking at on AXChange, as well as, say, you've mic'd up your own personal cabinet and you want to transfer that tone match into the cab block and take it with you on an AX8. You can do that as well. So, sorry I can't walk you through step by step, but it should be fairly straightforward. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to save that cabinet into your own collection and then export it for the world to use. So once those generous AX8 folks finish that step and, say, send me an email at the address with those cabinet IRs so I can upload them to Google Drive and share with everyone watching this video for free, hintity hint hint, then that's where the work of the AX8 user begins. Now, I do have a lot of patch conversions I'll showcase in this video that you can download. They're ready to go, and I've done the dirty work of converting them. Unfortunately, these AX8 presets that are ready to go are still going to require one small tweak from the end user, and that's because the cabinet block is referencing a user file that's going to be different for you unless like the stars have aligned and we put them in the exact same spot. No way that's going to happen though. So I've got a tidy little list within like the first bank for all the files I'll be showing, but when you download this preset, it'll probably be, be referencing either an empty file or, a different cabinet altogether, and it's just not going to sound like what you're hearing in this video. So when you import those cabs, you're going to have to manually choose the corresponding one. So, for the machine head one, you're going to have to choose the machine head cabinet. For the Limelight song, you're going to have to, choose the Rush cabinet, and that will be a different number than you're going to see here. And that is the one complication in this whole little tone match to cabinet block conversion. It's something that's just a limitation of the way the software is set up. But even with those conversion errors and software limitations in mind, this is still a fairly pain-free method, if just a little time consuming, of letting AX8 users hear tone matches that you otherwise wouldn't be able to take with you or use at all. So to me, it's definitely worth the effort, and I think there's some pretty damn cool results in here, because you can get a lot of these sounds in the stock IRs. They're pretty good on the Fractal units, but it definitely saves a lot of tweaking. And, if you're doing a cover or even just jamming along to albums like I do sometimes, it gets you that tone immediately in a way that you just cannot do on even this version of the hardware, which is why I really hope there's a tone match block in the upcoming floorboard, assuming that does happen. So with that, I will run through a few of these patches, show you exactly how I go about some of those processes, and hopefully we'll have some more user IRs that get sprinkled in over time as this video gets a few more views. Very quickly, before we get into a few tone demos here, I want to show you exactly how you go about converting these AX2 patches onto the AX8 and then taking whatever cab models that are going to be uploaded to the drive and putting those on the AX8 as well. So here I've downloaded this Seasons Wither tone match from Machine Head. This is on AX8. A lot of this stuff will be linked as well. And basically, you do one of these. You take this, put it over to Fractal. Definitely download this program if you don't have it. It's really great. And this will happen. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same patch, except with the AX8 version, you have a tone match block instead of a cabinet block, and that's exactly what we're going to rectify here in a moment. Once this instance loads, you should be right on the patch that you just imported. Make sure you're on an empty preset, unless you want to overwrite an older preset, because it will just throw it on whatever block you have selected. Of course, you could save it to another number if you want to move it that way. So I already had this patch here. I wanted to name it real quick to Seasons Wither. I know what it is. And we'll save that. Now, as you see, we have this lovely empty space. We're going to take that and put a cabinet in it. And it's going to go to kind of the stock models. We're going to leave the low and high cut exactly the same. Of course, you can dial back, say the low cut up to like 60, 80, 100 hertz, depending on if you're recording it or going through a boomy cabinet and, need some better production and trimming out the low end. But for me, I'm just going to leave it exactly the same. That way you can hear what the tone match is doing. Same deal with proximity, going to turn that off. Now, I actually already have these cabinets installed, but I'll show you what you do if you don't. So over here, I'm going to go to my user files, and I have quite a few of these already loaded, and this exact folder will be uploaded with the ones you're seeing today. So over here, I've got a bunch of tone matches in waveform. This one is the Seasons Wither cab. Now we get this sound. That sounds a bit more like Machine Head. Now, these patches, about all of them we're going over today that I've not tweaked yet, are fairly quiet compared to the ones I normally do. So, they're probably made for FR systems or blasting out of really loud monitors, not for headphone users. So you might have to tweak some of that, but I will have, kind of these versions uploaded that, won't be nearly as bad. Of course, I'll be tweaking all these, input drive and stuff to my taste, but if you want the originals, they will be there and you can do exactly what I'm showing you. Now, how you actually import the cabinets is pretty simple. You go up here in Tools, and under Axe Manage Cabs, you can get there with a keyboard shortcut as well. Of course, this is real-time editing, so be smart about it. You're going to want to go over here to Browser and then Open Directory and download the folder I will have, and it should still be called AX2 Cabs or something very similarly. It will scan that, and you will have a bunch of these. Now, the problem with this, this is something I've not been able to rectify, is that it doesn't carry over the names for whatever reason. So they are in alphabetical order, which is a good thing. So MRTX, in bracket, hashtag, # is actually the Bark at the Moon. So that's over there. You have to rename them. I'm not quite sure why that happens, but I'm sure it has something to do with metadata. And that's a bit of a pain in the ass, but if you know which one's which, and as long as you don't have like 500 cabs in there, it shouldn't be a big deal. In this instance, number 3 is the machine head cabinet. So I just go down here and, throw it down into that block, and you can rename it at that point. So we'll call that Season's Wither. And this is the same position I had it as last time, so you're not going to hear a change in sound, but that's basically how you do it. And unfortunately, you do need to rename them all if you want to know what the hell you're looking at. But that is the small price of inconvenience we pay to get basically a non-ultra res tone match. That is one downside to these, is these tone match files are not ultra res, they are standard, but you can still load them as, high ultra, but they still sound really, really good. Next up is this Limelight tone patch, same deal, putting it in the cab block. This one I've had to modify quite a bit because the delay feedback was just ridiculous. Couldn't even play. It was just going wob, wob, wob. So maybe a conversion error, maybe older quantum firmware, who knows, but got it fairly playable, and I think it sounds pretty damn good. This one's pretty cool. So this is a rev generator tone match. This patch is actually provided by one of the viewers here, which is really cool. And they're using the Dash Metal amp model, which is based off of a Diesel VH4. I think this is from like older firmware, but it really sounds good. And I have to tweak it a little bit to my liking, but it really does kind of have that meaner rectifier sound. It's a little more mid, smoothed out type of vibe, but I really like it. So this one's definitely successful. Now, you knew this wasn't going to be an AX8 video without some Suga influence, so this is a tone match based off of the 2006 re-release of Nothing. This is an elusive tone that I've been chasing for a few years, and I got fairly successful with VSTs and even the stock IRs included in this little box here, but this one's really good. The one downside is that, as you can see, there was actually at one point another amp block there, since it is the AX8, and I think it was using some sort of JVM Marshall model to blend with the Thorndal, but as is, it's pretty damn good. They're using a rat distortion, which is kind of weird, but I think it kind of works for the tone. There's a very aggressive EQ on the raw guitar, which I've ended up even turning down. It was worse than that. Maybe it sounds cool for some passives, or maybe like a Seymour Duncan Blackout, but for me it was a little much. And when you throw the enhancer block on and play along to the album, it's pretty much nothing. That's a little too processy for my taste, but I still really dig it. So I definitely thought I should throw that one up in the drive for everyone to use. Obzin's also a pretty interesting tone, one that I think kind of sounds like shit on its own, but it has the the Veta 2 super process line out sound going for it. So if you're trying to sound like a Line 6 pod, there you go, I guess. Interesting, definitely not really up my alley for my personal types of tones. This one, on the other hand, kind of is. So this is a Do Not Look Down tone match from Colossus, and I wish I had that IR a lot earlier in my life because it sounds freaking great. And they're using the Plexi 50 watt model. There might have been another amp in here. I can't remember. You have to download the original file to see, but even with this alone and no boost, there is a drive pedal. Doesn't really need it, in my opinion. Just a little bit of cut and some input trimming. It definitely has the Colossus sound going for it. This is definitely one of those tone matches that is thinner than you would expect, but you put it in the mix of the bass guitar and it sounds pretty much dead on like the live tones they used around that point, and pretty damn close to what they were using last time I saw them, since they are using essentially hyped up, Jose mod type plexis anyway as their main drive sound. So pretty cool stuff. There is a bass patch as well that is available. I'm not going to show it here. But that's kind of the gist of how you do it. You import a user cab that someone else exports for you. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I think it's definitely worthwhile doing if you're trying to get to a particular tone quickly. And this would be a legal workaround, well, an illegal workaround for tone matching premium cabinet IRs. So you can't do that. I mean, you can do it, but don't do that. But this is a way to get, other album tones and that sort of stuff. So I hope all that's useful, and I hope we get a few more submissions from AX8 2 users and some more, ideas and a bigger wish list from the AX8 users. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.